Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk about materials inside of Unreal Engine. We're going to see how to create basic PBR materials and talk about material instance, master materials, and material functions. And if you want more content about CGI and game development, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. So let's get started. Here inside of Unreal, you are good to go to start creating some materials. That's just an empty project. I create a new level and I create a few shapes just to display better the material that we're gonna create. And I download a few textures from polyhaven.com. For those who doesn't know, that site is a pretty good site with a lot of good materials. To create a material, you just need to right click with the mouse and click on material. And I'm gonna start creating a rock. I put the M in the beginning just because a convention inside of Unreal to be easier to understand that is a material. And here we have the material graph. This is the default material graph. You have this output node that display all the PBR characteristics. We're not gonna use all those characteristics to create a rock, but definitely gonna use a few of them. So we can start just dragging some textures from the textures folder. Just drag. Just gonna organize real quick. So now that you plug the textures, if you go here and grab the material that you just create and apply for in one of these shapes, you can see the textures. And now we have it. The texture is pretty good, so the material is already nice, but you don't have any control on the material. So that's the thing that you need to do right now. So you need to have a way to control the tiling, the scale. Right now the scale is too big and you have a way to control. And also because a rock is really important to control the normal strengths to give more realism. And also you have the roughness and the ambient occlusion. So let's gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start doing the tiling. I believe the tiling is the most important thing. And to do that, there is a node in Unreal called texture coordinate. By default, its value is 1 to the U and 1 to the V. And now we just need to have a way to control this number. And the way you can do that, it's creating a vector1 value. It's basically a value. And then you can multiply this texture coordinate. So if you click with the mouse and M, you have this node, the multiply node. And then you're gonna multiply the texture coordinate by this value. And then you just can go in the U and the V for each map. And this way we can control the tiling. Let me show you real quick. Now the tiling, it's really weird because the value is 0. However, if I increase the value for 1, you can see the tiling the way it was before. If I increase even more, it's like 5, and I apply, and now you have a different tiling. And this way you can choose the tiling that you want for the material. Now let's keep going. I was saying before, the normal is really important, so let's start to have some control, because now we have some normal because we have the map, but we don't have a way to increase or decrease how strong the normal is. The right way to do that, we need to grab the red and the green channel information, and that information, if you multiply that information by some value, and we append this value to the bit channel and then plug in the normal, you have a way to control the normal. So how can you do that? Well, there is a node called component mask. And this node, it's a really important one because it can mask the vectors informations. So in this case, you have a vector tree, the red and green and the B. And right now we just need the red and the green channel. So we just can grab the RGB information and put here and just check the red and the green. And you're gonna have just the information of those two channels. And then we can do the same thing that we did for the tiling, create a vector one and multiply this value. So this vector one will be the normal with strength. And you need to put the normal, the vector 3 normal. So you just need to grab the RGB and use again a component mask. But in this case, we're just gonna grab the blue channel information, and then we can append the red and the green channel with this parameter that can multiply together with the blue channel. So append vector. And then we can go to normal. And now you have a way to control the normal. Let's organize real quick here, because these nodes can become messy real quick. So let's test. So right now I believe the value is 1. If I decrease to 0, you can see there is no normal at all. But if you increase to 2, for instance, we really can see like the rocks and the irregularity, the difference. So in this way you can control the normal. And now you have two maps to control. You have the roughness and you have the ambient occlusion. I believe the ambient occlusion will be too subtle, but to control the ambient occlusion is pretty straightforward. We just need to have again a vector 1 and multiply with the map to how strong the ambient occlusion will be. For the roughness is a little bit different, because we're working with roughness with minimal roughness and maximal roughness. So somehow we need to use this texture, and we need to increase or decrease the minimum and the maximum roughness to create some effect. So the way you can do that is using a linear interpolate, or lerp for short. So if you type lerp, you can see a linear interpolate. So you can use these textures, this mask, as an alpha, and the A and the B will be the minimum and the maximum value. So it will be the maximum, the minimum and the maximum roughness. Let me show you real quick. I apply and I go here. So if I, for instance, increase the minimum roughness, you start seeing some shadowing. Increase even more. Maximum roughness here is much more, it's reflecting much more light. But if I increase again to 1, you can see that the material is not reflecting that amount of light. And this way you can control the roughness. And for a rock or some material like rocks, bricks and wood, probably more or less the same parameters. But what if you have a project that you need to create more 20 rocks or more like 15 woods? And you definitely can do that with the nodes that you just saw here. So you can use with the mask, the multiplies and the normals and everything. But if you need to do the same thing like 20 times, it would be a really repetitive task. And you don't need to do that, because there is material instance and master materials inside the Unreal. And that is the subject that we're going to talk right now. So now it's time to talk about master materials and material instance. Well, master material are pretty much a template. They are not a specific material, but they are a template that can be instantiated. So you can create material instance of that template, and that instance can be different materials. What I mean by that? Well, we create a template, and then that template, you just need to change the parameters inside of an instance, and then that material can be several different materials. So imagine that you can create a master material, and that master material can be different kind of rocks or bricks or woods. You just need to change some parameters. When you are creating a project and you need to create several materials, that speed up your process a lot. So let's go back to Unreal Engine that I show you how material instance in master material works. I'm gonna use our rock as our template. I'll just need to change a few things, and I'm gonna start changing the name. And other thing that I need to do, I'm gonna right click the master material. The other thing that I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna right click and create a material instance. And that material instance will be our rock. If I click on the material instance, there is nothing here yet, but we just need to change a few things in our master materials. To transform this material in master material, you need to change a few things. The first thing that we need to understand is the parameters concept. So right now we don't have any parameters in this material, but for this material become a master material, we need to create those parameters. What I mean by that? Well, everything that we are changing, like the tiling, the textures, or the normal strength, and things like that, they need to become parameters. So then they can show in the material instance, and then you can change in the material instance, not direct in the material. And how can we do that? In this vector one, we just need to right click and convert to parameters. So this one is the tiling. And now you have a tiling, you have a parameter. So if I apply here and go to our material instance, you can see that now you already have the tiling. And I just need to change this one from the master materials to the material instance. Now that we have this tiling as a parameter, you just need to go here, the material instance, and change the tiling. So now you have the tiling here, and you can change the tiling you don't need to save, you don't need to apply, you don't need to do anything. It'll be changed automatically. So the master material is good because you can create several materials from this material template, but also using material instance, changing the materials you tweak, then it'll be much faster because you don't need to go in the material and change there. You just have some parameters organized here, and you just need to change them, and you'll not even need to save. They will be automatically changing. So that's another important thing about master materials. Let's keep in doing that for the other information that we need. So we need to do that for the tiling. We're gonna need to do that for the normal strength. We'll convert to parameter, and be normal. Here you need to create two parameters. To create a parameter, can create a scalar parameter. It will be the same thing. And here in the left panel, we can change the name. So in this case, it will be in roughness. You can Control D, and then you duplicate the same parameter. You just need to change the name. If I hit apply, you see that you have all these parameters here. You just can keep changing. So now we need to transform the texture sample in parameters as well. In this way, you can change the texture inside of the material instance. So how can you do that? We can do that the same way that we did before with the vectors. Just right click and then convert to parameter. So this one will be the basic color texture. I'm gonna change the texture here because we don't need to put the rock here anymore. We need to put the rock on the material instance right now because this is just a template. And by the way, if the texture is if you're using virtual textures, it'll be a VT here. You need to put the placeholder as a VT as well. Otherwise, you're gonna have some issues dragging the textures afterwards. So let's do real quick, convert those textures to parameters and change the maps for placeholders. And now you have the maps here. You're missing some maps, right? Or this one. And you can see now that you don't have the rock anymore, but you're gonna change that in the material instance. I'm gonna go to textures and find the rock that I was using. This is the rock wall. And then you have the textures. I'm gonna enable these global textures, and I'm gonna start drag and drop those textures there. So here's the diffuse. I'm gonna go to the base color. And there we go. We have our rock. But what if you want to create another material and use the master material that you already have? We just need to go here in the master material, right click and create a material instance. And I'm gonna create some wood, for instance. Grab this shape, and I'm gonna put the material instance in this shape. Material instance will be white because we haven't changed any parameters yet, but you're gonna change right now. Just need to go here and go to textures again. And then we have it. So using master materials in material instance, you can create several materials, different materials from the same template, and that could speed up a lot your process. You just need to change the textures and tweak the parameters. You're gonna have different materials. And now the other subject that I have in mind to talk about today is material functions. So let's start doing that. Well, material functions and functions, for those that are familiar with programming language, they are pretty much the same. They have the same concept. They are nothing but some code, some program, some script that you made that you can reutilize over and over again. So for instance, we have a way to control the tiling in our master material. So you can create a function of control the tiling, and then you can use that function over and over again for any material that you want. So you don't need to rewrite the same code again. So that's why material functions are useful. So we're gonna go back to Unreal Engine, and I'm gonna show you real quick how to make that. So here is this new folder. I'm gonna create a function, a material function. You just need to right click and go to material and material function. I'm gonna create a material function that's gonna control the UV. And let's open. Right now, just have this output node. It's a default for any material function. I just changed the name result for UV control just to be more readable. And what we're gonna do in this function? Well, we're gonna start doing the same thing that we're doing here. So here we are controlling the UV, the tiling at least, so you can make the texture bigger or smaller. And I'm gonna do the same thing, but inside this function, and then you're gonna use this function inside of the master material. So how can you do that? To use a material function inside of another material, you just need to drag and drop. Now we have the material function inside of the master material. But right now it's not working because we don't have any output or input. So we need to solve this first. What do you need to do? Well, for short, we can go here, and we need to do the same thing. So you need to have a texture coordinate because you need a UV. And then you need to multiply the information of this node with some value. So here in the master material, we create a parameter to use inside of the material instance. In this case, you need to use a node that is slightly different, but it's pretty much the same thing, which is the input function. By default, we have a vector tree, but we can change here for vector 1 because you just need a value, not 3. So here in the same way, we can create a multiply node, clicking M, and then you just put this value here and put in the output. This input, the name is tiling, and here now inside of the master material, have this input that you just need to grab this parameter and put in the input, and then I'm gonna use the output of the function and put in the UVs. So now we can control the tiling using a function inside of a master material. Of course, in this case, material function will be a bit overkill because it's just a tiny function. But now we have the opportunity to create more functionalities inside of this function and have more control on the UVs. So let's start doing that to understand a little bit better how programming material works inside of Unreal. Here, the UV control function, maybe you can now create a way to rotate the texture. It's a node called custom rotator, and he needs a UV, which is the texture coordinate. He needs a factor between 0 and 1 to choose the angle. So we just need to create a function input again. Again, need to change from vector 3 to vector 1. Need to call rotation and put this rotation on this input and then put in the multiply node. Now inside of the function, inside of the master material, have a new input. So we're gonna just duplicate, Ctrl D, and change the name for time to rotation. And they also have the rotation, and we can rotate. And you can make it at the same time, you can make it smaller, and we're doing that by the function. Let's have more control. Now we have a rotation and we have a way to scale the texture. But right now we can't scale the texture independently. We always need to scale in the U, the V at the same time at the same value. So how can you do that individually? Well, again, you need to use the same node that you used before, which is the component mask. So we're gonna use the component mask again, because here in the UV you have a vector 2. So the vector 2, which means that the red channel will be the U and the green channel will be the V, because it's the first value and the second value. So to grab just the U value, I just need to check just the red channel and grab this information. And then I can go here and multiply this value by some parameters, some input function. So in this case, I'm gonna change the input for tiling to U tiling. And then we need to do the same thing for the V component. So here just left the green channel open. I'm gonna put here, I'm gonna create another input function. And now we have these two vectors. And how can we make two vectors together? So we need to use the same node that we used before, which is the append vector. So we're gonna append the vector and go into output control. Now we have it, and you have another parameter input here. So I'm gonna change this one for I'm gonna hit apply. Now if I want to change the UV individually, I can do that with no problem. I'll go here, 1 and 1, but I can go and really stretch the texture if I want to, all the directions. So we're gonna do just one more thing to have really control of the UV, and that will be the offset. Here with this append node, you have all the U and the V information with everything that you have changed all the way. And you just need to grab this information, change the information again to make the offset. So to do that, you can again create a component mask if you want. And then you're gonna mask just the red channel. We're gonna do the same thing for the green channel. And then you need to add instead of multiply. Input input would be I need to add, not multiply. And again, you have two different vectors and you need to append them. So here, append vector. There we go for me. So now I'm gonna hit apply. Here in the master material have new parameters, new inputs that you need to put parameters. So we have the V offset. And now I go here using the wood, you can go here, U offset. You can see that you can just change the U, and you can do the same thing for the V. And you have more control in the tiling. You can stretch the tiling if you want, or make the same. So you have more control to do whatever you feel like. And you can have this function. In this function, if you create another material, you just use this function in the material, and you don't need to rewrite this code anymore because you already have. You just need to put here the function and put the parameters in the input, and in this function will work in any material that you want. So guys, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.